Okay, we are we're beginning the July 15th, 1920.
You got this. You got this.
Right here, honey.
July 15th, 2024, board meeting of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District. So let's call it to order.
Roll call?
Roll call, please.
Yes. Director Oglesby,
Here.
Director Adams,
Here.
Director Paul,
Here.
Director Eisenhart,
Here via Zoom.
Director Edwards,
Here.
Vice Chair Riley,
Here.
Chair Anderson.
Here.
All members of the board are present.
Okay, you'll join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No, there are not.
Thank you. The oral communications, if anybody is in the public that wishes to address the board on consent calendar, information items, closed session items, or matters that are not on the agenda, may do so only during oral communications. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes.
Madam Chair, I'm hopeful that Marlena Brown is in the audience. I see Tom Rowley, but can you confirm that, Sarah, or anybody? in the room?
She is
Oh,
here.
okay. Terrific, thank you.
Yes,
Mr. Rowley?
good evening. Tom Rowley, Vice President of the Monterey Peninsula Taxpayers Association, citizen of Monterey with my wife. I got to thinking that after you adopted a budget last month, it included spending money on the water supply charge, asking the assessor's office to collect it against all the taxpayers. Have you guys really looked at your fiduciary responsibilities? Fiduciary responsibilities to all the taxpayers of the district? I don't think you have. And if I was in your shoes, I would have trouble sleeping at night knowing you're taking money away, $3 million approximately each year since approximately 2014, which is now up to about $30 million out of local taxpayers' pockets. I'm looking at each one of you, and I think you would have trouble sleeping at night knowing you're going to have to pay that money back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marlena Brown. I'm with Naval Support Activity Monterey. I wanted to read into the record, you have a copy of it, a letter of gratitude from the commanding officer. Dear directors, as the commanding officer of Naval Support Activity Monterey, which we call NSAM, I wanted to express my gratitude to General Manager David Stolt and the hardworking team at the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District for assisting the Navy with the National Environmental Protection Act, NEPA, environmental assessment of a proposed Naval Innovation Center. In August of 2023, NSAM requested the district act as a partnering agency for this assessment, and the district staff was instrumental in providing feedback and substantive comments for the Navy's consideration of this large project's environmental impact. Your contributions regarding water and water policy were invaluable, and we appreciate the subject matter expertise truly provided from the district's thoughtful feedback. We look forward to working with Mr. Stolt and staff again during the water allocation process, and we really continue to appreciate your support of the Navy's mission and our needs. Signed, Robert S. Smith, Captain U.S. Navy, Commanding Officer. And on a personal note, I know several of staff are under the weather at the moment, so I'm sending healing energy your way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other?
Yes, via Zoom, we have Melody Crislock. Melody, when you're ready.
Melody Crislock. It seems so petty to me that Tom Raleigh, you keep banging this drum when that $3 million a year has gone to help solve a water crisis that we've had for decades. I don't understand why you can't be patient and let the Water Management District retire that when they can. And how much money have you spent, of our taxpayers' money in lawsuits trying to stop this prematurely? No one ever talks about what you're doing that's costing us all money. So I felt like I really needed to say something. Anyway, thank you so much, MPWMD. My God, our water situation is almost solved after so many decades. It's amazing what you guys have done in partnership with Monterey One. Thank you. All right, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Crislock.
I have Susan Schiavone. Susan, when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, board and staff. I just want to add to what Melody said. I totally agree with what she said. And I also would like to say that, despite what Tom Raleigh said, the district is receiving annually awards for fiduciary management. So I don't see you as irresponsible in your management. And I'm sure if there is a need to pay the money back, you've already worked that out in terms of a solution. I'm sure of it. So my hope is that the case goes in the favor of the district. It's still in appeal, so it's not a done deal. And then I also wanted to find out if, in fact, the supply charge is now in the budget. Would that mean that the 152 Oversight Committee would need to reconvene? That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
I see no other raised hands. Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, would this be a good time to remind those in attendance that the general manager is not here in person and is attending online?
It's a good idea. Dave Stolt, our general manager, as well as one member of the board, are attending via Zoom. They're both ill but they are here. So just so you were wondering where they were. Thank you. We have 2 items on the consent calendar. Are there any comments about the consent calendar, or does anybody want to pull an item? Can we have a motion?
Public comment.
Oh, public comment, I'm sorry. Right. Any public comment?
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Okay, thank you.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, anything else? So we can have a roll call vote.
Director Oglesby,
Aye.
Director Adams,
Aye.
Director Paul,
Aye.
Director Eisenhart,
Aye.
Director Edwards,
Aye.
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
and Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Consent calendar is approved, 7-0.
And so it's time for our general manager's report.
Yes, and we'll wait for Sarah to get the item 1 PowerPoint up. So item 1 is the standard monthly report on compliance with the State Water Board order and the seaside adjudication. Next slide, please. What I would like to point out from this slide is the Carmel River Basin actual line. You can see to date, this is 9 months of the water year. So we have July, August, and September remaining. There's been production from the river of 1,983 acre feet. For the remaining 3 months, if last year is any indicator, which it may or may not be, but I'm hopeful it's close. Last year, for the last 3 months, Cal-Am produced just over 1,000 acre feet, 1,007 acre feet from the river. So looking at where we stand today, we're at about 2,990 acre feet from the river if we go through the end of the year with 1,007 acre feet. That would indicate a shortfall off of the river water right of about 386 acre feet, which is certainly better than last year. You may recall the issue from last year was we felt that the river was underutilized because it's one of the two cheapest sources of supply for the company, and about 950 acre feet were left in the river. So we're well ahead of last year if the next 3 months proceed like last year's did. So I think that's a positive that we remain looking at it. The next slide, please. On this one, I guess the important takeaway is we did budget some ASR recovery. We have not yet taken any. Pure Water Monterey recovery, we just closed the fiscal year. The contract for delivery is on a fiscal year basis. We met the 3,500 acre feet requirement of deliveries about 3 weeks into May. And so the remainder of May and June were deliveries to the district for increasing the operating reserve in advance of the Pure Water Monterey expansion. I think that's all I have to speak on this chart. Next chart, please. There's a few things I'd like to highlight here. The first is table 13, which is weather related, went to 0 last month. That's a clear signal that the rainy season is over. And then Pure Water Monterey, again, you can see the 0 for last month, reinforcing what I spoke earlier about, which is we met the 3,500 fiscal year delivery guarantee. And so we just booked all of the Pure Water deliveries to our own account, which meant that Cal-Am didn't produce any, well, produced very little. They produced the 61 acre feet. So they were playing a little bit of catch up on the total for the fiscal year, but they typically try to match production with our delivery schedule. As I said, we delivered 0. And then Sand City desal shows, again, a second month in a row of positive production. So things are getting a little bit back to normal on the Sand City desal. Next slide, please. Rainfall, we're pretty much over at 24.17 inches for the year. Through this period, that's 115% of long-term average. Assuming we receive no more rain this year for the next 3 months, we will end the year in an above normal level. So we did not quite reach wet, certainly not very wet. So I think, you know, when you think about how much rain we did have, it was a good year, but it was not a knockout year like last year was or 2017 was. So I think that once again, we should applaud the ASR team, both our folks as well as Cal-Am's, doing as well as we did on injection when it wasn't an overly wet year. Next slide. Oh, by the way, we would have gone into wet year if we got about a ½ an inch more, so it was pretty close. And then finally, unimpaired stream flow. We're at 120% of long-term average, which is also a above normal year. And we're likely to end there as above normal, even though the river is still flowing. Typically, you know, we get in July, August, September, less than 1,500 acre feet total. So it won't move the needle at all to a higher category. Storage right now is about 94% of long-term average and 87% of system capacity. So we have a very good storage position as well. And that concludes the item 1 report. Item 3 report. Item 4, update on water supply projects. Not much to report, but I do want to reinforce with you that ASR currently sits at 3,677 acre-feet in the ground. Think of it as our drought reserve. And Pure Water Monterey operating reserve is 2,189 acre-feet. So both together is 5,868 acre-feet, which is roughly 60 to 65% of total demand during a single year. So that's a very good buffer. We stand in a very good position going into next year with those reserves, so we can handle a bit of a dry year if it occurs. But there really is no prediction for a dry year at this point. So all looking good. The Pure Water Monterey project has not had any significant delays to its schedule, so it's still deemed to be on target for late calendar year 2025. Think of it as October for coming online. And we haven't heard any new breaking details on Cal-Am's attempt to permit its desalination plant. And that concludes item 4.
Thank you so much. District Council.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I do not have COVID, but I do have very bit of a cough, a summer cough, and I'm wearing the mask just to be prudent. My name is David Laredo, and I'm here to present a report, a general report on your pending litigation. I believe it was raised before the board at one of your last meetings, that you wanted to have a report that could be provided information to the public as to what's happening. So that's what you have here. The written report is on page 23 of your packet. And what this was designed in such a way that this can be a public statement of the matters of pending litigation. And if you have questions or you want to dive into further detail, then I can respond to some matters, but other matters would have to either be individual or by closed session. There are 5 matters of pending litigation with the Monterey Peninsula Taxpayers Association, and those are listed beginning on page 23. Of the 5 matters, 4 of them are active. 1 has been resolved and is no longer being actively litigated, and that is the very first one. We've characterized each of these 5 as MPTA 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in your packet, the case number for MPTA 1 is unfortunately not accurate. The accurate case citation is for item 1A is M123512. This is the initial challenge that MPTA brought against the district's collection of the water supply charge. That matter came before Judge Wills. Judge Wills ruled in favor of the district and against the challenge that was brought. That matter is no longer pending, it's final, and it was resolved in favor of the district. MPTA then filed a second challenge for a subsequent collection of the charge. And that raised different grounds that had been raised in MPTA 1. That matter was heard by Judge Panetta. Judge Panetta ruled against the district's collection of the charge, ruling in favor of the Taxpayers Association. That matter is now on appeal before the 6th District Court of Appeal. In that, on that appeal, the district is seeking reversal of the trial court and continued collection of the annual charge. The district's contending that MPTA failed to timely file a validation claim, and also contends that the district's enabling ordinance 152, properly authorizes and supports collection of the charge. So that matter has been fully briefed, and oral arguments have been set before the Court of Appeal on September 5th of this year. And that's going to be held in Santa Clara, on Santa Clara Street in San Jose. Question has been posed as to who the oral argument panel has been designated, and I have not looked at that. I have a meeting later this week to discuss with our lead litigation counsel to review that, and I will transmit those identities directly to the board and report on that at the next meeting.
Before we move on from that, there has been questions from the board of whether or not you can view that oral argument online. The answer is yes, and we will be sending out the link to the board so you can each log in as you wish.
So the nature of these issues on appeal and before the court is that challenges are made to the collection of each specific year's collection of the fee. So although there are 5 actions, these are really different facets of the same challenge. MPTA is challenging the district's authority to impose the charge. So MPTA 3 is a third challenge against the district's collection of the charge. MPTA 3 raises different grounds as compared to the allegations in MPTA 1 and 2. I believe that MPTA was hedging its bet if the district were to prevail on the prior on the matter before on appeal, they will have a different set of reasons to find fault in the collection. All the parties have agreed to postpone active litigation of MPTA 3 until the matter is resolved in the Court of Appeal and we see what direction we get from the court. Similarly, MPTA 4 is a 4th challenge brought by the Taxpayers Association against the water supply charge. Although this raises grounds similar to that raised in 3, it extends the term for a following year. And we have an agreement with the Taxpayers Association that action on that matter is also going to trail pending a resolution of the Court of Appeals decision connecting with MPTA 2. The 4th pending matter, which is MPTA 5, is the 5th challenge to the district's collection, and that applies to this most recent tax year. It raises grounds similar to MPTA 3 and 4, but it also includes class claims, bringing this as a class action on behalf of property owners. So it takes a look at what the district is doing from a different perspective. Technically, it's a new lawsuit. Technically, it raises additional grounds for litigation purposes. But again, we've discussed with MPTA and we have an agreement pending to postpone this litigation until after the ruling. So one of the 4 matters is on appeal and the other 3 are just trailing. And these collectively examine this question of whether the district is valid in its reliance of Ordinance 152 in collecting the charge.
May I ask a question before
certainly
you
may.
continue? Is our council going to argue in person?
Yes.
Oh,
We have not waived oral argument. We've notified the court that we will be arguing in person. And so we will be in front of the court.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question as well. Depending on what the appeal court says, is it likely that the other 3 cases might be consolidated into a single case? Or are all going to be treated as separate?
It is possible. It really just depends on how the appellate court rules. There may be a reason to settle. There may be a reason to separate perhaps the class action matter from the other 4, but it's speculative to say how we will treat that until we actually see how the appellate court.
You see the language of whatever that decision is.
And the appellate court's order will be either resolve it in its entirety or refer it back to Judge Panetta for further proceedings. So We have a little ways to go, but we are not actively litigating that in any sense until the smoke clears.
I understand. Thanks.
The second matter is the Water Management District's lawsuit against Cal-Am. And this is the action by which the district is attempting to fulfill the electorate's mandate in Measure J. And Measure J compels the district to attempt to acquire ownership and to operate Cal-Am's Monterey Division water supply facilities. That matter is in the Superior Court. Judge Vanessa Vallarta is the judge presiding over that matter. This does remain at an early stage. Cal-Am has challenged aspects of the district's lawsuit by demur. The demur questions the district's ability to bring the action as framed. Judge Vallarta had a hearing on the demur, needed more time to review this, asked for additional briefing, and a second hearing has been set for on that demur on August 23rd, and that'll be in Superior Court. Both sides have begun discovery efforts. Questions have been posed for the district to respond to, and the district is propounding discovery against Cal-Am. So the matter is an active litigation, and we do await the ruling from Judge Panetta to see if the scope of the proceeding is at all affected. The district's case against LAFCO, the Local Agency Formation Commission, the district brought this to challenge how LAFCO conducted and the decisions that it made regarding the district's exercise of power to acquire the Cal-Am system. On December 7th of 2023, Judge Wills ruled in favor of the district and against LAFCO and Cal-Am. Cal-Am is a real party of interest in that proceeding. That matter is now on appeal before the 6th District Court of Appeal. It's taken a while to get the administrative record lodged. That is lodged, and schedules, but briefing schedules have not yet been set. The next step will be to find out what the briefing schedule is between the parties and to prepare the briefs in that matter. The fourth action is the City of Marina and the Water Management District and Marine Coast Water District's challenge to the California Coastal Commission. This incorporates several actions, including another plaintiff, the Marina Coast Water District Groundwater Sustainability Agency. And these parties collectively challenge the Coastal Commission's issuance of a coastal development permit to Cal-Am that granted conditional approval for Cal-Am's proposed desalination project. Cal-Am is a direct party, a real party in interest, and is actively involved in that litigation. The Coastal Commission has taken a long time to certify the administrative record, but finally that record was lodged with the court in early June. The record has since had to be augmented because of matters that were not included in it. But the briefing schedule calls for the petitioning parties to file opening briefs. This memo says those who are to be filed by today, and a very short extension of time was granted, so they will be filed in the next 2 days. After that, the Coastal Commission and Cal-Am will have an opportunity to file reply briefs, and the petitioning parties then will have a time thereafter to file a 30-day responsive brief. After that, a hearing is anticipated on the merits, and tentatively that is going to be set in November. I anticipate late November of this year. There are also other dates that the court has set for potential further arguments that could extend into December and even January of next year.
Question?
Yes.
Has the judge been assigned to that case yet?
Yes, that is Judge Wills. Those are the only matters in Superior Court or the Appellate Court, but also as a type of administrative or hearing is those matters that are before the California Public Utilities Commission. And we have several matters of active litigation there. 5A on your list here is the CalAM's amended application for its amended water purchase agreement. And this was originally filed as CalAM's request to purchase water from the Pure Water Replenishment Project, and then expanded to include the expansion of that project. So originally this dealt with whether or not CalAM would be authorized to enter into the agreement. That has been resolved, but now the current, and CalAM has entered into the agreement. But the most recent phase of this case addresses the need for the commission to update water supply figures and water demand calculations that relate to CalAM's system. Briefs in that, it's been characterized as phase 2, which is the demand and supply analysis. Briefs have been filed by all parties, but it's unclear whether and when a proposed decision will be issued by the assigned ALJ, or when this will come to the full commission. Recently, there's a statutory deadline by which the commission has to resolve this matter. And an order was recently received to extend that statutory deadline to the end of this calendar year, 12/31/2024. So it's unclear. When the ALJ was hearing phase 2, he did make some reference to the possibility that he might feel a need for a phase 3 in this proceeding. Whether that will happen or not is entirely unclear. So all we can say at this point is hurry up and wait. The next step will be the issuance, the next step is likely to be the issuance of a proposed decision. And then there will be opportunities for the parties to comment on the proposed decision. And we'll see where this goes from there. The next item that's pending before the commission, the Public Utilities Commission, is the CalAM's 2022 general rate case. This is part of a 3-year cycle where public utilities submit their request to the Public Utilities Commission for the commission to approve their rates and charges, and also changes to their operating systems. Typically, this happens in a much more expeditious fashion because we are well past 2022. That's when the application was filed. And when you think about it on a 3-year rate cycle, here we are more than halfway through 2024. And we're already talking about having the next 3-year cycle be filed. The evidentiary phase of the general rate case has been concluded. The assigned administrative law judge is Judge Rambo, who conducted this. Every administrative hearing of this type has both an assigned administrative law judge and who presides over the proceeding, and an assigned commissioner, one of the 5 public utility commission members actually sits in on proceedings, can ask questions, and can confer with the ALJ in the proceeding. The assigned commissioner was Commissioner Genevieve Shruma. She has left the commission and has now been replaced by a new commissioner, and that is Commissioner Karen Douglas. So that's a wrinkle in the matter because it's a long proceeding, and it's uncertain as to how that will affect the decision-making of the ALJ. the case, again, there's a limitation that a decision be made by statute, but that has been extended now to September 30th. There has been a proposed settlement of some minor issues between Cal-Am and the Public Advocate's Office, but the major issues at play are contested, including rate design, rate adjustment mechanisms, ways to adjust the consumption balances, and other matters that are before them. There are 10 items of contested issue that are to be decided by the decision. So at the moment, there's no action pending by the parties until the issuance of a proposed decision. And at that time, the parties will have an opportunity to comment on the proposed decision. The third item pending before the Utilities Commission is a rulemaking matter. And this is on how public utilities acquire properties and how they purchase and merge with other utilities. This has impact because these rules can promote or discourage these types of transactions and have an impact upon our ratepayers because they can cause subsidies when a undercapitalized facility is purchased by a utility. A new investment needs to be made, and that investment then gets spread. Those costs of that investment spread against our local ratepayers. That matter has been evidence has been received in that, but it's not clear when a decision will be held. Again, an order has been issued by the commission extending time for a ruling until December 31 of this year. So as you can see, matters before the commission are happening at a snail's pace. And at least for two of them, I expect there will be further proceedings directed. So of the matters not of pending litigation, but threatened litigation, the last item on the list has to do with the ASR program. Cal-Am has threatened to file a breach of contract action against the partners that are conducting ASR. And the dispute has to do with the status of the ASR well. And this dispute could well threaten both the Water Management District and Monterey One Water. We have met with Cal-Am and have agreed to postpone their litigation deadlines so that we don't prematurely enter into litigation. So we have actually filed 7 consecutive agreements to toll or extend filing deadlines. And this is to facilitate our potential to reach an acceptable settlement short of litigation. I am quoting from Cal-Am in the most recent comment related to the 7th extension of the tolling agreement. And Cal-Am says, and I quote, "Cal-Am has been working diligently to address both extraction and injection concerns related to the ASR4 due to a variety of technical and several division of
Drinking water.
DW related procedural issues. We believe, we being Cal-Am, that this will not be fully resolved for several months and perhaps up to a year." So what we're trying to do collectively is figure out how the ASR well can be adjusted and modified to meet regulatory requirements, but to achieve the purposes for which the district needs to rely upon. And Cal-Am has threatened action to protect its interest, and the district is pushing back on that. We're hopeful that this can be a physical solution and therefore no need to litigate. But the matter technically is viable as terms of being able to be filed as a lawsuit. And we have been working cooperatively with CalAm to try to postpone it so we can get a physical solution. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'll wait.
Now, Mr. Roy, a good report. I like it because it's written, and I wonder, is this a one-timer? Or I expect this from now on?
I would suggest that this may be appropriate, not every month, because you're gonna hear a lot of the same things. And as you can hear from the timing, some of these don't happen on a monthly time step. But I would suggest on a quarterly time step, and we can do that, or more frequently if you wish.
I think more frequently, even though if there's nothing changed, I think you add in there, nothing have changed from last month. But I think the public need what you done here so they can understand. I can't remember all of it, but it's all written down now and a good report. Thank you.
Be
That's all
happy
I
to give
have.
it to you as often as you wish.
Get ready for every month. You ask me.
Yes.
I have a question, but
No, go ahead.
I've already asked some questions.
That's fine. You didn't ask them. I had two. Well, first of all, very well done report. I like it written too. And I'm okay with what the suggestion about monthly, if that's all you're gonna add is no update, right? So we don't need to have you think about it every 30 days. It's just, there ain't nothing there, no update on that one, but very well done. My question is, when we talk about the water supply charge, right? If we lose the appeal, and I don't think we will, right? But we're not on the hook for $30 million. All the way back to the beginning.
Right.
Who said that? Who said?
That's me, Dave. Yeah, you're on the hook for, and I'm sure it will come to a judge, but we believe that right now we're on the hook for 2 years of collections, which is 6.8 million.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to get out.
Yeah.
That's all I want to get out. I mean, we don't know how much the judgment will be,
That's correct.
but we know it's not 30 million.
That's correct.
Okay, because it doesn't go all the way back. That's all. That's for myself to be clear. And then it was a concern, and I have to share the same concern. If we continue to collect the service charge, the supply charge, does that dictate, or would it be good practice to re-impanel the 152 committee?
Well, that's a separate question, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And as long as we are collecting the charge, I believe that the orders 152 panel has a role.
Right, they have a role, so if they're not in panel now, they probably should be re-impaneled. From your vantage point, I'm asking you,
I understand.
Yeah.
I see no harm in doing that.
Okay, thank you.
I do. But we'll go back and redo.
Well, that's not on the agenda. That's,
Right.
we
There's
can
no
talk about
issue.
that some other
Correct.
day. It's a
Yeah.
simple, straightforward question.
Yeah, that was one of my questions, but my other question was, didn't think of it at the moment, when the water purchase agreement and CalAm's water phase 2, the water supply and demand evaluation. You said there's a potential for a phase 3. What is the potential reissue that may get a separate treatment?
I think that some of the potential is the constraints that the commission previously put on the desal plant and reconciling that with what the coastal commission may have done. And it's hard to read. It's hard to project what issues the ALJ may spark on. All I know is that he did say that he saw that there may be a need for phase 3. But quite frankly, that was before the very end, and at the end of his last comments, he didn't mention a phase 3. So I think it would be speculation for us to assume that it will be. It's just a potential.
Okay,
And I
thank
only
you.
raise it because it was the ALJ himself who articulated that there might be a need.
And then my other comment is, goes through you to Dave. You're in the same line of sight for me. But perhaps one of the water district email, notices might include some of this information for the public. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, very well done.
I agree. It was very good. Very well done. Yeah. So now we are. Public comment? Yeah.
Tom Raleigh again from the Monterey Peninsula Taxpayers Association. That was a great report from Mr. Leal. And I agree that we've got a lot to keep track of. And there's a lot of challenges on the legal front. But two quick comments is under item 2, which is Water Management District versus Cal-Am, to fulfill the electoral mandate of Measure J. That was not a mandate. It was an option that was voted on by you as a board. So to keep repeating it's a mandate, maybe you're hoping it's a mandate, maybe it's a mandate in your mind, but it was not a mandate. It was a decision made by the board to pursue it. So it could have gone either way, but you pretty much had the name made up ahead of time. And then I'm reminded on Mayor Oglesby, is it 30 million or 6.8 million? Current court system in the legal system, and I think Mr. Leal will probably agree with this, in California is a real crapshoot these days, all the way up to the Supremes. And a famous senator from Illinois, Everett Dirksen, had a very famous saying, a few million here and a few million there, and pretty soon you're talking real money. Now, 3 million a year isn't a lot of money, but it starts adding up after a period of time. And this is money that's been picked from the pockets of Monterey Peninsula taxpayers. And you are taking the risk that you're going to have to refund whatever the courts say. And again, it's a crapshoot. We all recognize that. So anyway, with those comments, I hope you think about this, because if I was you guys, I would be thinking, the longer you collect this thing, the more you're hanging out there and are liable if the courts do rule against you and accept Judge Carrie Panetta's decision that you should mandate or should sunset the water supply charge, as was promised by the general manager back in 2012. Thank you.
So I'm going to go to item number 6, which was directors' reports. Are there any reports from the directors on trips or conferences or anything like that? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I attended the Water Master of the Seaside Basin Committee meeting last month, but this month, matter of fact. Their next meeting is August the 7th, 2024 at 2:00 p.m. And it's going to be on Zoom. They're doing it in Sand City City Council chamber. They're going to be doing a presentation on how the water master can generate money to buy water. I think it's proper to say everybody should look at that, especially the board. There's ways that we could get involved, there's other ways they can do it, but they will lay out. And if I'm getting this wrong, Mayor, because he's the chair, correct me, they're going to lay out how they can generate money to buy water. So that's next month, August the 7th. They had it was given a presentation this month, but now it's going to be reintroduced to the public because they did it publicly a few months back. But to bring people back up to date again on what could happen, I think everyone should look at that and get involved with the water master. Sand City, City Council Chamber, 2 o'clock. You need to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I just add to that? I mean,
Yeah, you,
No, I think what you said is correct and as close to accurate as possible. I would just add that it's the potential for the possibility to raise funds for projects, and one could be buying water.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, we're at action items. And now is for public comment, but we just did that. So,
I think Sarah is going to take this item.
Yep.
Item 6,
Item 7.
7,
item
excuse me.
7.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this report is titled, Consider Adoption of Resolution Number 2024-09, calling an election for directors in voter divisions 3, 4, and 5 on November 5, 2024, and approve a services agreement with the County Monterey Elections Department. Just a couple of things. The Monterey County Elections Department requires that a resolution calling for the November 5th election be adopted by the board and submitted no later than August 9th of this year. This authorization seeks $410,000, which is the maximum estimate using the election department rates. However, the actual amount billed by the election department will be based on the final cost calculated after election. We generally receive an invoice to pay. And staff is requesting that the board adopt resolution number 2024-09 and authorize the general manager to enter into a service agreement with the elections department. Just a couple of notes. The directors that are up for election are Directors Eisenhart, Director Paul, and Anderson. And the last election cost that we were billed from the county was the $119,628.12. And that was just a simple invoice that was sent to us with a breakdown of how they came up with that cost. And the information that I also received or inquired with the county elections is that we have a current total registered number of voters for the district of 62,590. And the number of registered voters in the districts that are going to the election this November for each district. District 3 is 10,624. District 4 is 14,371. And District 5 is 16,000.
16,000?
And so the other information that was required by the county had a due date of July 3rd, and those documents have been submitted, and it's a form that gets filled out. And this is the next step, is the adopted resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have this adoption of the resolution 2024-09. Does anybody want to ask any questions or propose to adopt this resolution?
You need to take it out to the public first.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes.
All right.
Chair,
Thank you.
Chair Anderson, I do see Melody Chrislock. Melody? just
Okay,
like-
Melody.
Oh.
Yeah. Why
I'm
can't I
not sure
get
if
that?
she keeps raising the hand and. Melody, are you wanting to address the board?
Yes, after Tom Raleigh spoke, you didn't look online. I had my hand raised. May I still comment on that? I think it was it 5 or 6? I don't know.
Item 5 was the district council's report.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that is incorrect, that the Measure J was written as a mandate, 24,000 voters passed that. It was a mandate. It was not just a judgment on the Water Management District's part. And I still wish that Tom Raleigh would consider how much money he is picking our pockets with every time he files another lawsuit. I mean, I'm tired of this. Stop it. We don't need this. This is a very responsible agency. They'll sunset this as soon as they can. You're just wasting people's money and time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so,
Chair Anderson, I see no other raised hands.
thank you.
So, through the chair, I have a question on this item. I don't know if you can hear me, but.
Yeah.
So, Sarah shared that, the last election cycle, the district was billed about 120,000 or 119 and change. Can somebody remind me how many contested elections were there the last cycle?
Wasn't any.
Right.
Not for the board.
He's trying to pocket money.
So,
They-
really? I mean, I
Yeah, so, so
was-
even when you, even when you get appointed in lieu or AIL, the registrar still shares the cost of the, the voter pamphlet, the, all the materials leading up to it. So even if you're not printed on the ballot, ultimately, there's a bunch of costs that they spread. And even, it's hard to tell because they don't itemize, but, I believe there may just be some overhead for like voting locations and so forth. Where, again, even though our candidates weren't on the ballot, the election was held in the district, and so they assigned some of those just general costs to the district.
Okay, I thought it was, up until just this moment, I thought the cost to the district passed through from the elections department was sort of negligible if it was an uncontested. Now I'm hearing it's basically no difference.
Is that? Yeah,
I just, through the chair, are we sure that this information came from the election office? Are we sure that this was an uncontested election? Or just the last time someone ran, that's what it costs? 'Cause
No, they were all uncontested. That was the 2022 election for 1 and 2, and then also 3 because Director Eisenhart had a short term because he was appointed to fill Safwat Malik's seat with sufficient time before the next general election. So he had to actually run for a 2-year term, and now he's running for the full 4-year term. And so
right, that's not that, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's my point is you paid to be on the ballot, right? Because someone that ran, Director Eisenhart, that information was on the ballot, right? In the pamphlet. That's what you paid for. So it's not contested. You're not, right? You're paying to be on the ballot. So that's why it costs this amount of money. If no one is contested and no one's on the ballot, you would be zero.
All right.
Right. Well, that's what I'm trying to share with everybody, right? That's why it costs what it costs, because someone was on the ballot. It wasn't whether it was uncontested or not. It was you're paying to have that information printed.
But it wasn't. I wasn't in the pamphlet because
That's right.
That's what Dave just did, though.
No,
no.
I was on
Yeah, so I'm saying we get charged anyway. I'll go back in and I'll go to 2020 because we did have a contested seat there, and we'll just take a look at the difference in cost. But I think we're being hit for a share of the overhead of the registrar of voters, just in general, I think, to run an election.
Yeah,
And
if I
so-
could- through the air, through the chair. every candidate, whether you're on the ballot or not, you still go to the office. You have to go through all the paperwork. You have to file all the documents you're going to be a candidate. And so every potential candidate goes through that process. That's overhead. That's administrative overhead before the election.
Yep, and even after they take the names of those who ran unopposed, and they take that, I believe, to the Board of Supervisors, who then affirmatively appoint those folks, be it a special district or a local election, and they say, okay, based on our results, these unopposed candidates are hereby appointed. And it's called appointed in lieu. And, that meeting requires work from the registrar as well. So we're paying for something, but it's squishy.
To me, I don't understand why, if a candidate runs unopposed, why that doesn't appear on the ballot anyway, just to inform the voters. It seems to me that I've seen unopposed candidates on the ballot in the past, maybe not in special district races, but in others. Why is that? Is it?
No, you don't, no. If you run unopposed, you're not on the ballot. You already won. There's no race.
Correct.
Right, there's no race. So my only point is whatever is, I don't think it's going to be 400 something, but whatever is charged, you'll get a bill and it'll be appropriate, right? The election office is not going to overcharge you, where they cannot prove it, right? So I don't want to spend a lot of time for my part, but because I know Director Eisenhardt was wondering why it's so expensive. That's what it's cost, because I think you guys have, was it 60,000 people in the district? I mean, in the district, and you guys got whatever you got in your own section, but that's a lot of people.
Okay.
Times
Any
seven.
other?
Chair, excuse me, Chair Anderson, Melody Chrislock does have her hand raised.
But Madam Chair, public comment has been open and closed on this item, so I'd recommend not accepting it.
Yeah,
Has it been closed?
well,
We haven't made a
Yeah,
motion yet.
I don't remember her saying it was closed.
I don't either.
well,
Yeah. And it's been two or three times where we didn't make sure she said it was closed. So I don't think it was closed this time.
I agree.
well, I don't have an opinion on it. I didn't say it. I probably did not say it.
So do you
So-
care?
Then say go back to the
Yeah.
public comment.
Okay, so we can go back to public comment.
Melody, did you have a comment?
No, I did not. Sorry.
Now it's closed. Okay. All right, back to item 7.
I move approval of the draft resolution ordering the election for 3 districts, 3 divisions.
I'll second it, and quickly on the second, hey, let's get a bill and get it, bring it to the board so we can see what's going on.
Yeah, I am actually looking at that bill right now, and as General Manager Stoll said, a lot of it is indirect costs that are being charged to us. So indirect costs 31,000, notices like 2,000, voter information guide 14,800, ballot printing and mailing 22,000. So there are like 10 different items, including temporary stuff and other stuff. So it looks like administration and indirect costs. That's making up the bulk of what we were charged last time. This invoice doesn't say that, but it just provides.
The ballots go to, I just went through this, right? The ballot goes to your voters in your district, right? So they didn't charge you to send a ballot with nobody on it. That's all I'm trying to say, right? And if someone ran, and maybe Director Eisenhardt didn't run, he ran unopposed for the last 2 years, but he was on a ballot and no one put in their term, but I'm sure people voted on him, or,
No,
No,
that I was not on the ballot. I was feeling I thought I was gonna be famous. I wasn't. It wasn't on the I wasn't in the pamphlet. I wasn't in anything. Once the deadline passed to oppose, I became a nothing burger. And the next thing I knew, I was appointed in lieu after the election. You didn't see my name anywhere.
We,
That's right, because I think he ran with me and George
That's correct.
on that ballot.
Yeah.
And didn't nobody run.
The only
guess-
way, the only way anybody would know that Mark, Alvin, and George even existed during that election was you'd have to go onto the Department of Elections website. Good luck. If you can navigate it, it's not terribly hard, but I shouldn't be that cruel. But you'll see our names there on the website. But that's it. Yeah, no, I'm just, that's why I guess it's, yeah, I don't know. That's okay. I mean, it is what it is.
But we still need to see something at the end of this
Yeah.
election year. Let's really clean it up as much as possible, because that cost is in there.
and we will double check whatever we are billed, we will double check to
Right.
make sure that it's billed correctly too.
All right.
Now, if you want just one other useful tidbit, when the number of voters in each district was read, 10,003 and 14,004 and 16,005. Remember, we just went through redistricting.
I was thinking the same thing.
And the populations are all the same, which means there's more children in your district, Director Eisenhart, than there are in Director Anderson's, for example. Or just scofflaws registered to vote.
Or more unregistered voters.
No,
Yeah.
those are voters. They're not kids.
Yeah, that's voters.
Well, yeah, these are the voters, but the populations are supposed to be balanced between all three.
Oh, the population. The population is, but we're talking about voters.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. Well, that was my point, because there's such a disparity in voters that there must be more non-registered people or
Size of it.
children under the age. Yeah.
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 Can we
Okay.
vote?
Yes, we can. We have
I will take a roll call vote. Director Oglesby,
Aye.
Director Adams,
Aye.
Director Eisenhart,
Aye.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Items approved 7-0.
All right. Now, do we have public comment
On 7B,
on this item?
7B.
7B.
We
The one we
need,
just
we
had.
need two motions on this action. I move approval of 7B, which is a service agreement with the Elections Department for election services.
I second.
Thank you for noticing that. Any comments or questions? Public?
What is 7B?
It's at the bottom of the page.
No, but what is
Service
7B?
Service agreement with the election department.
Okay, okay.
this is where they making their money on.
No comments, no questions. We've got a first and a second. We can have a roll call vote, yes.
Yeah, just.
Director Eisenhart,
Aye.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Director Adams,
Aye.
Director Oglesby.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Now, public hearing.
Now, item 8.
Okay, item 8.
I think we have the Water Resources Manager, Mr. Lear here.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Chair Anderson, members of the board. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. This is action item 8, and it's to consider establishment of a financial assistance program to assist low-income households to comply with the district's rules Ordinance 3 and Rules 54 that require metering and reporting of privately owned wells. I don't have a presentation, but I just give you a little verbal background on why this is in front of you. The district has Rules 20 and 54, which require if you own a meter within the water district's boundaries, the meter must be registered, metered, and you must report your production out of your well or your meter read on an annual basis. The rules actually require staff to create a report and bring it to the board and the general manager and report those results at a board meeting so they can go out to the public. We recently had someone who was running this program retire, and so we are going through an audit of this program, kind of updating some of the workings of the program, the inner workings, and we were working through production records and looking at them and auditing them. And we're coming up with sections of the records where people's meters had broke, where we weren't getting some of the data that we were required to collect because meters were broken, or in other instances, meters are installed incorrectly where they don't have the correct run of pipe before and after the meter, so they're recording water usage inaccurately. And another instance where we would work with the landowner that owns a well is if a well has been on what's called the land use reporting method, which is looking at all of the uses that's on the property and summing them up, the district feels that method is not as accurate as an actual meter. So when houses change title, people are required to place a meter on their well. We've come across some places where in the notes they had been noted that the owner had indicated that it would be a financial hardship to hire a plumber because the rules require the owner to place the meter on the well before we can say that the well is correctly registered. And so we started thinking that if we can verify that it is a financial hardship for an owner to put a meter on their well so that they can comply with this rule, the district could create a low income program that would we could install meter on their well so that they would not go through the rest of the process. If a well is not in compliance with the district's rules, the owner will be notified, be given 2 notifications, and if it's not lapsed with taken care of within the 3rd month, a notice of non-compliance is recorded against the property at the Monterey at Monterey County, and so that actually freezes the property where the district will not process any applications with that property, and it also acts as a lien on the property where it cannot change title or be refinanced. And so we don't want to have a situation where someone can't afford a meter, can't follow our rules, and then ends up in that situation. An example of how someone would find themselves in that situation is if someone inherits a property and they don't have a large salary, but they have the property that they've inherited. They don't have large costs to live on the property because the property is paid for. And so that would constitute a financial hardship. And so when we went around to look at what other districts do, we found that Monterey One had a program that was to assist people with their sewer if they could demonstrate a financial hardship. And we found that they go through each year and do financial adjustments to reflect the economy to the different levels of how many people are in a household and what the income should be to demonstrate that. And so in talking with the attorneys, the recommendation was to find some sort of standard so that if we help someone, we had a standard we were comparing it to, so it couldn't be characterized as a gift of public funds. And could look to Monterey One as they adjust theirs each year and just use the work that they're doing to help establish a program for this program. And so the recommendation would be to direct the general manager to establish a program as I've set forward. And so with that, I can take questions.
I have a question for you. So as far as establishing the need for a program like this for an individual, you just looking at their income level, that's basically what or their taxes or something, that's what you're basing it on?
Correct. Yeah, correct. There, Chair Anderson, the way that Monterey One does it is if you can send in an electric bill that says that you're enrolled in PG&E's financial hardship program, or if they can send in a bill that says they're enrolled in Monterey One's financial hardship program, or you can submit your tax return that would demonstrate. And it would, yes, it's threshold of pre-tax income per member of household.
Thank you.
So I have a question. How much do these meters cost?
It's a great question. It could be about $500 to install a meter, and they do break from time to time. If you need to readjust the piping so that you have the correct run, you can get up to about $1,000. And it's pretty much time and materials. And there are a number of approved plumbers or well workers that are certified to install meters. So it has to be done by someone that knows how to do it correctly.
Well, so how do we differentiate this with other mandatory upgrade programs that the district imposes on change of ownership? So for example, low flush toilets. I mean, if you buy, or as you say, inherit a home, and there's 3 high flush toilets, that's a word, I don't know. You're going to easily spend $500 to $1,000 to put in 3 low flush toilets, and they're mandatory. But we don't offer a program on that mandated transfer of title program, but we're going to do it for the wells. So am I missing something?
I don't know if it's change of title that's triggering it. So it's just if you have a well that has a broken meter, it's your responsibility to fix that, or you're out of compliance.
Okay, at any time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think Director Eisenhart, your attempted comparison is appropriate. You know, we require a lot of things, but yeah, I don't know if there we go. There's Stephanie. I was going to ask if a inheritance is deemed to be a change in title for purposes of retrofits.
No.
Okay.
So, yeah, unless there's a reassessment of taxes.
Which now there would be, because the law has changed on that, hasn't it?
I'll have to ask our attorney about that one.
Yeah.
So,
Remember,
yeah, no,
last year, everybody was running to their trust attorneys because it wasn't going to work anymore. Anyway,
yeah, if there is a transfer of real property, they have to meet our current current requirements. We do allow them an extension of time. So, but yeah, I can see why you're asking that question.
Yeah, I'll just end it with this. I see the wisdom of it, obviously, and who wouldn't be sympathetic if people have to do things to stay in compliance with, among other things, the district, and they're having a challenge doing that. I just have we thought about how others are affected by their compliance requirements that don't relate to a well meter. That's all, and that's all.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Chair,
Yes.
is 3,000 enough to get this started? Once you put this out there, I know it's probably going to be other people that pops up. And if you got people out there that don't have a meter now and need a meter, are we going to have a problem with this once we get started? Is this enough money? Last thing I want you to do is come back and see me again and ask for another 3,000. Is this enough money?
I believe it is, with the unit cost being $500 per meter installation, just on the looking through the past records and seeing the rate that meters need to be replaced, the rate that someone changes from land use to meter program. I don't, I could see some years where there's no money spent, and I could see some years where you spend, 3 or 4 meters to be installed. And so I think this is a good starting estimate, and starting this new program.
And are you gonna advertise this, or this gonna be like, word of mouth? Or if you advertise it, I see Monterey One Water on page 39, they doing English and bilingual.
I don't think when we have a well that we're tracking as part of our well program, if it's out of compliance, the owner will receive a letter or an email, depending on how they've indicated that they want to be communicated with, and we offer to come out and meet them at their property and talk them through it. So it's on an individual by individual case basis, on an owner by owner basis with our staff. So it's not really advertised. It's just a enforcement action, and then a way to extend financial assistance if it's necessary, if that's the situation we find when we start interacting with the well owner.
Okay, thank you.
And we do have our new hire is bilingual, so we have the ability to provide that service.
We have, are there any public comments or questions about this?
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify? So, John, is the proposal that the board approve a cost estimate of $3,000, and if we go over, we have to come back to the board, or is this an open-ended financial assistance? Is there a cap, I guess, to this, or should we think about having a cap?
I think 3,000 is what I intended to be the cap. If it I don't see it going over that. If it did, I will have to come back before Director Alvin.
Yeah, I like that. You know, I love to see you. All right. You got it right.
All right, so shall we have a vote? Do we have a motion?
We need a motion.
Oh, I thought we had one. I'm sorry.
So moved.
Let's try.
I'll second it since they're coming back to me.
Okay. All right, may we have a
Yes. Roll call.
roll call vote, please?
Yes. Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Eisenhart,
Aye.
Director Adams. Director Adams,
Aye.
Director Oglesby,
Aye.
Director Edwards,
Aye.
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
Chair Anderson.
Yes,
The item passes 7-0.
thank you. Now. We are up on action and on item 9. Authorizing funds for the contract with Majora Brothers Drilling. Additional funds, I should say, and this is going to be presented, there you are. I thought you just stepped out of the screen. So I thought you were sitting there.
Good evening. We have provided the board with a revised staff report with the reduction in the request. I will read off my cheat sheets here.
We have it.
Just a real quick review of the work that's been completed since the board authorized the original contract on May 20. The contractor mobilized on June 3rd after getting the contract in place and the bonds. Also, there was a holiday thrown in there. Less than 3 weeks later, they had both wells pump assemblies removed and delivered to inspection. I want to note that June 22nd was a Saturday. They're really showing commitment to keeping us on schedule. So I appreciate that. And about 2 weeks later, they submitted their recommendation for repairs with costs from their vendors and suppliers and lead time. Our pumps are outfitted with what's called a vertical turbine enclosed shaft pump. And I figure not everybody's familiar with all the bits and bobbles I'm going to talk about and the photos I'm going to show. So next slide, please, Sarah. I just have a really quick diagram to go over some of the terms. The topmost blue item is the motor. It turns the line shaft, which runs down the center of the assembly. That line shaft has a pipe that encloses it to keep the water on the shaft as free as possible of any impurities that could hurt the shaft and cause another repair. The line shaft turns the impellers on the pump. The pump lifts the water up to the surface and it gets sent on its way. Next slide, please. What this actually looks like is the line shaft is shown in the top center of the photo. It's a very short stick because it's the head stick. The enclosure pipe that kind of keeps the lubrication water pure is in the middle of the bottom of the photo, and the pump column where the water gets lifted through to get sent off to treatment spans the bottom of the photo there. Next slide, please. We had some videos, and when we ran a test this afternoon, the transmission quality made them ineffective. So really quick, I'm going to try to go through the process they go through in trying to disassemble that pump column. In the diagram, it looks very short, but ASR1, the pump is set, I believe, at 460 feet below ground surface, and ASR2 is 540 feet below ground surface. The sticks come, or the pipe segments come in, we call 20-foot sticks. So as it comes out of the ground, you have to unscrew the top one from the bottom one. You put a wrench around the bottom one, they tie it off to the pump rig to keep it in place. Another wrench goes on the top pipe and they push on it to try to get it to break free from the bottom pipe. Plumbers will know exactly what I'm talking about. If it's really tough, and it was very, very tough to get these components apart this time, they'll tie that upper wrench to a hydraulic pulley, and they energize that pulley, and the rig is pulling on that upper wrench to try and break the connection. The video I had showed it didn't break the connection, but the assembly that was above ground did list towards the rig. So at that point, you have to start banging on the pipe to get it to break free from whatever's holding it together, and some other more extreme measures, which I'll show in another photo.
Wow.
Next slide, please. So the units were disassembled and sent to Majora's repair yard for inspection. Our pumps are a pretty special duty. You know, most drillers are thinking, okay, we've got a pump in there. It pumps full time, 24/7, in some cases less than that. ASR 1 and 2, if they pump 40 hours a year, that's over an entire year, that's a big year for them. So our pumps have a pretty unique service, and we have different thresholds for what could cause a problem in the future. So staff went to the yard, did some inspection and reviewed it with the duty that those pumps endure. And one of the first significant pieces of damage they showed us was galling. Galling is when a similar metal bonds with itself. Friction and adhesion work to kind of rejigger the metal structure so that it becomes just a larger metal structure. The factors on that are force, the load, vibration, as well as heat and debris and scale to get the friction in there. And this has to be addressed because we've got to get those pump columns back together in order to reinstall it. Next slide, please. The other item we found, and this is predominantly an ASR 2, which has been in place, I believe, since 2010, is pitting. And pitting is where you can get chemical attack eating through little imperfections in the metal. In several cases, the pitting went all the way through the enclosing shaft, and certainly that needs to be addressed as well. Next slide, please. I have some other photos just to kind of show the duty that these wells are under and what can happen. I don't know if you can see to the furthest left is a column pipe coming up, and you can see what looks like some dots on it. That is on ASR 1, which is was last rehabbed, I believe, in 2021. So that's 3 years of duty. And those dots or nodules are iron oxide deposits that have already formed in that short time. The center photo has what are, you can call them stabilizers, I guess stabilizers is wrong. We call them spiders. They're there to keep the enclosing tube kind of in the center of the pump column. The bottom spider, you can see 3 legs, and the top spider is missing one. So small things like that happen, and the wear and tear and corrosion. The component to the furthest right isn't ours. It is a brass well that was in service in Moss Landing and brackish waters. And at the top of that pump bowl, you can see seashells. And we just wanted to show you that to kind of stress that the surprise that environmental effects below water can have on the submerged equipment. That surprised the drillers as well. Next slide, please. So after looking at the damage and the repair requests that the driller had made in light of our unique duty, we reduced the amount from, I think it was about $226,000 that was in the staff note to $178,559. Some of the work needs to keep going while we're trying to figure all this out. So we've authorized some repair work that's on critical path out of the contingency that was awarded in May. We're going to need 28,000 contingency, we estimate. We haven't even started the rehab, and the 28,000 gets us a week of one crew extra time in case we need it. So our total request with those adjustments is $176,250.50. No adjustment will be required for the budget. I think we've got about 32,000 left in that line item. And just a reminder, maintenance, repair, and replacement is reimbursable per our ASR operations agreement with CalAmp. Slide, please. Excuse me. So I'm here to request that the board authorize the general manager to increase the contract for ASR 1 and ASR 2 well rehabilitation with Majora Brothers for a total not to exceed amount of $509,544. Questions?
Maureen, can you clarify, the staff note did indicate an increase in the 24-25 budget of $15,924. Your slide just stated there would not be, and is that because of the reduction in the total cost?
Yes, we reduced that visit. I think we reduced it by about 50,000. So that covers the 15,000 that we needed to adjust the budget by.
Great, thank you.
I have a question. This request is written in our notes as 224,190. Is that the number you said? You said,
well, I said 226 because we had 30,000 in contingency that we've used, but we're asking for 28. So that delta is the 2,000 difference. If you hear 226, 224, my apologies.
So it's 226.
No, 224 is what we were asking for.
Yeah.
Can you, now we are asking for $176,250.50 as the contract increase.
I think there's an additional page on your, in your packet.
Yeah,
that
the
might have it.
revised.
In your red
It's revised
folder.
note.
Oh, in the, where is it? In the folder. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I got it. Thank you. I didn't see that. Okay, so 176, 250.
Yes, ma'am. And 50 cents.
I don't understand how anything that looks like that could work. I mean, wow. That's remarkable.
There are a lot of the native seaside groundwater basin is, relatively salty. I hate to use the phrase salty because there are concerns with seawater intrusion. That's not an issue in that Santa Margarita formation. But there are chlorides, and chlorides in particular cause pitting, especially the duty goes back and forth between its saturated and oxygenated Carmel River water. The oxygen goes away. There are sulfur reducing bacteria down there. Now you're in an anoxic environment with sulfur reducing bacteria. You're producing H2S, which also pits metal. So it's a tough duty. And again, the oxygenated, non-oxygenated iron, manganese components of the pipe, they really like to form those oxides.
So what kind of a lifespan? I mean, you continue to do this every 3 years or so. What kind of a lifespan do those have? The metals?
Well, I think the metals would have had another 14 years in ASR2 if it weren't for the galling. The pitting of the ASR2 enclosure, that definitely, we probably would have started noticing that in a few years. And it's a unique duty. I'm not sure there's a lot of experience with lifetime in a system that our wells are now injection only. So you're, especially ASR2, you're sending oxygenated water down and then it sits. So that one was also unique. And we think, well, ASR1 was redone recently. So, and the issue with ASR1, it's been pulled, I think, 4 times in the last 11 years. So it's had its own share of rough duty.
Yeah.
In the opposite side of that coin.
Well, thank you. Are there any questions from the? Yes.
Oh, yeah, Chair, thank you. I was reading in your staff report, it might be a delay. Now, one thing I didn't like, they gave a bid against 3 other people. They came in low. Now, with all these additions that they add on, now they up there with the ones that we deny. You know, that's one I'll talk about a little bit later. But are they going to be on time, or are we going to be come December still waiting on them?
That will depend on how the rehabilitation goes. Where we are now, there's enough slack in the schedule to absorb the requests they've asked for if we give them that request. The difference in price and the difference in timing is due to the unforeseen conditions of bringing that column up. Again, we have 2 dramatically different well experiences that need repair. ASR1 had been repaired when it was out in 21, and we feel that maybe the 4th time out of the hole was the last time it could be repaired. I didn't have the videos. You can see where they're wailing to try to get those parts apart. The other drillers who bid on that would also have had to have raised their price up to get the galled materials and the pitted materials replaced.
Okay. I'll let somebody else dig in. I got to think some more.
I have a question. Can you hear me? Oh, okay, great, thanks. This is actually, I find this fascinating. I mean, to have this type of degradation in such a short term, and then the way you're describing how well when you have it, when you have ASR that's only being injected and all that, as you said, oxygenated water. I'm not a chemist, and but it's fascinating. And it seems to me that this is a rich learning opportunity for the district in terms of our overall ASR maintenance. Would you agree?
It is, ideally, we would have left both wells in place until we knew they needed to be pulled. And you can tell that by different process variables. The pump is running less efficiently, the back flushes are less effective. You can tell that over time.
And the reason why I'm bringing all of this up, and I'm just sort of asking this because the last presentation we had from John, I think, was that when it came to, if I remember correctly, the program involving meters on wells, that the person who was in charge of that and other things had retired, and so there was some auditing that was going on. And what happens when you know? Is there a way that we can maintain the brain trust? Is there a way we can publish, within the district, reports and create? Are we doing that? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Absolutely. We have, after every major action, there are reports written to file for future staff. They're
Right.
deposited in the water year. And as well, we're morphing that to be by asset. As the new folks are coming in, they certainly don't have the institutional knowledge.
Right.
With all those reports, it's a great learning as to what happens when you pull a pump 4 times in 11 years, and as well what happens when you put the pump in injection service only for a seasonal injection for 14 years in what is a pretty corrosive environment. So
Yeah.
yes, excellent, yes.
And I didn't mean to suggest that we weren't creating a brain trust on that information. I was just wanting confirmation that it's actually very interesting stuff to me. I mean, the way that then what do they say about water? It's the universal solvent. I guess they meant it when they said it, I guess, whoever the date is. No, it's good. It's interesting.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the report, also the graphics, because there's so many things that we do hear and authorize and hear about and so on, but we don't see some of the details. The detail is very educational. It goes back to what Mark was saying about, learning something, learning more. And it's one thing to know how much it costs, one thing to know the time frame and so on. We can relate to those things in our daily lives, but not the plumbing and not the corrosion. So I appreciate the education, and I'm going to offline. I'm going to talk to Dave about some areas where maybe we might benefit from more of this. That's all. Thank you.
Oh, and I apologize. I forgot to point out one of the photos at ASR2, which had sat in situ for so long. They couldn't get that pump column unattached from the pump flange, and they had to cut it. And that was in one of the photos in the presentation, if you look back.
I noticed the cut. Yeah.
They had to cut it. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that one sitting off to the side. But I thought just for the board, I think to put a pin in and highlight for the board, I think you said you had a video, but for the technology not being able to deliver that in this room, we're missing that information. That would have been valuable. And we're talking about something that's about $500,000, but whatever it would have cost to be able to allow that technology for us to see is just as valuable.
Yeah, even if CalAmp's going to reimburse us for all of it.
Well, I'm talking about our internal.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, I just want to, because we need to see those things, and don't get me wrong, if she wouldn't have mentioned that they didn't have a video, we wouldn't have known. But we should have the ability to see that pipe being banged on and how tough it was to open up and why it had to be cut. And that's why it cost so much to fix it. That makes sense.
And I'll take partial responsibility. The
No,
videographer wasn't great. It was
Nobody's fault.
didn't click it fast
So
enough.
through the chair, if I may. So going forward, we will need to take into account this experience and these costs, the related costs in our budgeting for the ASR water supply, the maintenance and upkeep costs of that part of our water supply. Yeah.
Just a question to the general manager. over in Monterey One Water, I know we help with a few of those wells over there. Are we liable for the maintenance if something should happen like that over here? Where they come over here with their hand out and say, we need to fix a well.
Yeah, it'll get rolled into the cost of the water. So at this point, we're basically every year we do a operations and maintenance, and there should be a true up for the prior year. So if there was an unexpected maintenance issue in the prior year where that original cost wasn't budgeted, it gets covered, and then it gets recovered in the cost of water in the subsequent year. So it's funded through the rate, what's called the company water rate.
Okay, and one more. Y'all talked to Cal-Am about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they give an answer yet, or are we gonna be going into our reserves to take care of this and then coming back to fight with them about it, like we doing another well? So,
Their initial email back was that they would cover it, and they requested just, like we're talking about additional lead time, which we didn't have on this particular rehab.
okay.
Thank you very much for your report. Um, And I have a motion. Any questions?
Public comment first.
Yeah, thank you. Any public comment on this presentation?
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll move approve. Authorize.
I'll second it.
Sorry, Mark, you're on.
Did Mark say something?
I was gonna even move
Seconded it.
for a second, whichever
thank
it was, yeah.
All right, let's take a vote.
Director Oldesby,
Aye.
Director Adams,
Aye.
Director Eisenhart,
Aye.
Director Paul,
Yes, and with thanks to Maureen for the presentation.
Director Edwards,
Aye, and please keep us informed.
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
The item is approved 7-0.
Okay, we are moving on to item 10.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, I was just checking to see if my microphone was on. This item is requesting adoption of an agreement with DeLay and Laredo for legal services. The legal team was given a performance review in multiple closed sessions earlier this year. And during the strategic offsite meeting, there was a request made that a form of agreement for continued services be developed. That agreement was reviewed during a performance appraisal in closed session by this board, and there were two minor edits requested. One about clarifying that the general counsel works at the direction of the board or through its general manager, and the other was that a decision to terminate the agreement should be a majority vote of the board. And both of those changes were made and are contained in the draft that you have in front of you. And this is just a request for approval.
Do we have any questions from the board?
I'd just like to say, as far as I can tell, it reflects the discussions we've had and the document reflects the terms that we developed over in several discussions. And seems fine to me. I think we should approve it unless somebody sees a problem that I'm not seeing.
Any other comments or questions?
I have a comment. I just want to say thank you to Michael and David and the firm and for being so accommodating through the process. I think it lasted a few, as David Stoltz said, a few meetings. And anyway, I just want to say thank you to
Point.
them.
Yes, I agree. Can we have a motion?
A public comment first.
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm not going to speak against the recommendation, but I would like to take a moment to thank the board for your cooperation and the service we provided. One of the reasons we wanted to initiate this change where Michael would take over the day-to-day operations as general counsel. I want to assure the board that I am fully committed to this district and I fully plan to remain active and engaged in terms of oversight of litigation and to be available to step in when Mike was not available or any other matter where my expertise might be of use. I just had to point out that I'm stepping aside after 45 years as general counsel. So it's been a while. I've served my apprenticeship. I'm looking forward to this next stage, but I wanted to make sure that we're doing it in such a way that it's a smooth transition that works best for the district. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity over the years.
Thank you.
And I also support the recommendation.
And I hope you're going to have a celebration.
In time.
Something fun.
And Madam Chair, I'd just like to say is the same. Thank you very much for the opportunity to continue serving the district. We look forward to our continued relationship and working with all of you and your whoever come before after you. And we plan to continue to provide as excellent of service as we can for you. So thank you.
Thank you. And we plan to rely upon your answers.
Well, we do a move. I move that we approve this, but quickly, if I get a second.
I second.
Thank you. Your report tonight put a new standard that you gotta keep. I like that. So you set a new standard up there when you gave your report and with a written report in the agenda. I
Very
appreciate
helpful.
that. Good job.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna miss you, but I expect you still around. Don't take that on the bad side, but I want you here and I want you around. Not double meetings. Okay.
All right, I think,
I'll take a roll call vote. Director Adams? Aye. Director Eisenhart?
Aye.
Director Paul?
Yes.
Director Edwards?
Yes.
Director Oglesby?
Aye.
Vice Chair Riley?
Aye.
Chair Anderson?
yes,
And the item's adopted 7-0.
And Madam Chair, I'm not abandoning you, but I'm leaving.
Oh, no. Oh. Have a good night.
good night. Okay, so
Item 11.
item 11, this is about the memorandum of understanding with the district bargaining units, which we discussed at length
Yes.
last
The
meeting.
general managers.
Yes, and we have, as you point out, Madam Chair, we have met in closed session several times on negotiations. We have two represented bargaining units, the general unit and then the management unit. And then we have an unrepresented confidential unit. The staff note is fairly detailed on how many people are in each one and so forth. But during the course of the closed sessions with the board, I presented to you the initial request of the union and then our counter proposal, their counter to our counter proposal. And then we came to fairly good agreement on the non-cash related issues, the non-cost issues, but we were waiting the results of their salary survey. Those results came in and we had a special closed session meeting on July 1st where only the cost related issues were discussed. Following the recommendation of the 5 board members who were present at that July 1st meeting, You have in front of you the recommended final MOU. Only the general unit is included, but the red line changes would be the same for all the units. The key feature of the cost issues are really twofold. The salary survey. The last time the district performed a salary survey was in 2016. The results of this salary survey showed that some positions were pretty close to spot on, and several positions had lost ground relative to comparables at other agencies. Our other agencies, just for the benefit of the public, include both local agencies and then other specialized water or wastewater related agencies. Where an agency is out of area, there's an adjustment made for geography. And all of those adjustments have been included in the final discussion to date. The result of the salary survey is that there will be an annual cost to the district, in essence, raising the floor of about $380,000. The number in the staff note was slightly higher than what we presented to you in closed session on July 1st. And it's actually going to land slightly lower than the 387.33 due to one position, one data point change. It will go down slightly from there. The management group is included in that number. The confidential unit was then evaluated afterwards, after we had our meeting on July 1st, given the direction that you provided on that date regarding one of the positions and the discussion we had regarding the other two positions in the confidential unit. The impact on the confidential unit is $45,753. So that's a one-time boost in the base for all salary for the district. It will be basically embedded in future budgets at that level. And then all we would be facing would be cost of living adjustments going forward. And the cost of living adjustment recommendation for this contract is shown in the staff note, and it's 3%, 3%, 3% in 24 to 25. I'm sorry, beginning July 124, July 125, and July 126. The other issues are contained in the table in the staff note. I think it was a very amicable process. I think generally speaking, most of the employees are very happy, if not all of them. It also reinforces that we have a fair compensation policy. You know, we're not the most expensive, but we're certainly not trying to get by as the least expensive. We're paying at or on the median, slightly above for a couple of positions that obviously won't get a bump this go round. So I believe it's a very fair and equitable solution. It's a 3-year contract. The recommendation or the request is actually twofold. One is to approve the MOUs with these recommended aspects. And then the second is for you to decide whether to award me, the general manager, a cost of living adjustment of the same amount at the same time, and then deal with the other issues surrounding my performance during the normal calendar year cycle later this year.
Thank you. So,
May I?
yeah, please.
On the first question, the MOU, I want to say that I think well, first, we needed the information that the salary survey provided. We can see that it must have required an awful lot of work that, you know, to really get good information about what is the market rate for each of these positions and get the right comparables and all of that. It looks like it required a lot of work, but it gave us the information we need. And having that, I know I was kind of shocked that some of the positions were well below market of comparable. I feel bad about that because we have great staff and I think all the directors want this to be a good place to work and for people to feel good about the work that they do and their working conditions and that they're being paid fairly. It's just so important. We really want the district to be a good place to work now and in the future. So I think there was no question. We all want fair compensation to be able to recruit and retain really good employees, and we want them to feel good about their jobs and what they're being paid. So, and it's just really important. And I want to thank you for all your work with the salary survey and your work in negotiating and coming back to the board when you needed to for direction. So it seems like a good contract, and I hope that everybody feels satisfied with it.
I totally agree, and I can only imagine the work that was involved in that. I guess it was the last packet that we got with all the comparables, and it's the tiny percentages and so forth. It was really a lot of work, but I won't repeat what Director Paul just said, but I completely agree. And I'm happy that we're up to comparables at this time. That's our proposal. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Dave, the last contract we did with the employees was for 5 years, wasn't it?
It was.
5 years. So, and going back to you, 3% for everybody across the board, including you, but we're going to go back sometime in December and probably do a salary survey for the general managers in this area. Correct me if I'm wrong. If we say 3% now for you, we know it's going to be something else sometime by the end of December.
Yeah,
Because-
or no change, but you're right. That would be the approach, would be assess performance separately from compensation and then review compensation. Next month, I will be bringing you a job description for an assistant general manager. And that will have also, a salary survey, very similar type of exercise, probably will include more or different agencies just so we can focus in on assistant general manager. And then in December, we can do the same for, the base salary for your general manager. The key thing is that while I have waited as long as 20 months to get a cost of living adjustment, the last 2 years I've gotten mine when the unions have gotten theirs. So that's, the simple proposal right now is that any change in where I stand relative to others, that's your decision in December, November, December.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up.
Okay, so.
May I add
So-
something?
Yes,
Chair?
certainly.
So I also support the proposal on the second question, which is to give you the same cost of living increase as the union contract at the same time.
Oh, and I do want to point out, just for any listening public, we did determine that during the 5-year previous contract with inflation that our bargaining units did lose ground. But by virtue of doing a salary survey, bringing everybody to current market as of June 30th of 2024, that lost ground is gone because now everybody is at market. And so that's why there's no adder, which was discussed at one point for lost wages.
Yeah, we have this, the same, what is it, 3%?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all unified. So now we'll ask for if there's anyone who wants to speak in the public.
Yeah, good evening again. Tom Raleigh, speaking as a citizen. I don't know how many of you read the Pine Cone like I do. Has a lot of good news, but there was an excellent letter to the editor this last Friday from Sam Farr, our former congressman, former representative, what have you. Anyway, he has some very interesting comments about salaries of government agencies, which includes exactly what you're talking about today in general, and makes some strong suggestions about what various government agencies need to look at and reorganizing for the future. And basically, one of his very last comment was to merge all the water districts into one organization. Instead of having, water management district, Monterey One Water, Marina Coast Water, all these districts with bureaucrats and bureaucracies that are associated with them, when it could all be under one form for the population we have on the Monterey Peninsula, which is, 115,000, let alone Monterey County, which is sort of different. But anyway, if you have not seen this article by Sam Farr, it's excellent. He makes some really strong, broad recommendations pertaining to how you're dealing with this on an individual level and where it needs to be, where consolidations and why we have all these special agencies that are all with bureaucracies and all are overhead and don't contribute to the efficiencies in any way, shape, or form. So I strongly recommend, if you haven't seen that article, take a look at it. It talks to the future. It's not relating directly to what you're doing now, but it does relate in the background and what you're doing for the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other hands?
Chair Anderson, I see no raised hands.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I do want to point out that Congressman Farr's article was a good article, and one of the calls for action is any of these salary surveys should include state and federal comparable positions. And we did, in fact, include state positions. And the reason for that, of course, I believe, is because both the state and federal positions pay less. But where we had applicable similar job titles and job descriptions, we did include the state.
Thank you. All right. Now I have a motion.
I move approval of the contract
Okay.
as written, with the general manager getting this 3% now too, before he hired all these people, and I changed my mind.
Yeah, before we carry on through the motion, can we just have that as two separate motions with two separate votes?
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I approve the contract.
Okay, so you're approving the contract business.
Actually, how many MOUs?
3 MOUs.
2 or 3?
There's the 3 different MOUs that you're looking at.
Well, I move all 3 of them.
Director Oglesby,
Aye.
Director Adams,
Aye.
Director Eisenhart,
Before I vote, good job, General Manager Stolt. That was, I know this was a number of months of effort and on multiple levels. And when you said that all sides feel pretty good about it and amicable, it just doesn't get better than that. Aye.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes.
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
The MOUs are adopted 7-0.
Okay, so we have
Another motion.
Yeah, one more
another
motion
motion
from
is
Yeah, move a motion for the GM to receive his 3% with the rest of the employees. And,
Have a second?
and just quickly on the second, we're not done with the GM yet. He undone outstanding work over these last couple of years. And we want to keep him up like the rest of the people in the organization. So come December, if you hear or read something different about him and his salary, he deserve it. So we just want to move it along. Thank you, GM, for all your work.
Thank you for your kind words.
We have a proposal in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take roll call. Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Eisenhart,
Aye.
Director Oglesby,
Aye.
Director Adams,
Aye.
Director Edwards,
Aye.
Vice Chair Riley,
Aye.
Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Now we have another one. Do we have a third?
No. Next, no. Last of the action items.
Hmm?
That's the last of the action.
Oh.
So we're close to adjournment.
Now, wasn't there another one to approve? Was that it?
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it
Thank
for
you.
item 11.
I thought we had another one somewhere. Okay. And that is the entirety of our agenda. Yes, thank you. Unless we have any other business right now, I can adjourn the meeting.
One quick comment, if I may.
Sure.
This is my first time, in a while, appearing via Zoom, and, we don't notice it when things are going great, but I did notice that our remoting in system, our video system, our audio, everything's working great, and I think it's worth mentioning that it's noticed.
Yes, great.
They're getting paid enough to get it done.
Sarah,
right.
Sarah does a good job organizing.
Yay, Sarah.
Yes.
Yes.
Very
you.
nice.
Yeah.
Well done, Sarah.
Keep up the good work.
After that, the meeting is adjourned.